Close calls that made me rethink my life choices. Growing up in a small town in America, I was always the adventurous one in my friend group. My friends called me fearless. But what they didn't know was that my adventurous spirit often walked a thin line between excitement and recklessness. There was one particular moment that stood out as my biggest I'm dead experience. A secret I kept buried deep within me, hidden from everyone I knew. It was the summer before my senior year of high school. The days stretched long and warm, filled with possibilities, and my friends and I were eager to make the most of our last summer together before heading off to college. That's when I heard about the old, abandoned amusement park just outside of town. It was a place that had been closed for years after a tragic accident during a ride malfunction. Rumors swirled around it, ghost stories, haunted rides, and eerie occurrences that sent shivers down our spines. Naturally, my curiosity was piqued. One late afternoon, I gathered my friends, convinced them that we needed to explore this legendary place. I could sense their hesitation, but the thrill of adventure pulled them in. Armed with flashlights, snacks, and a sense of invincibility, we set off toward the park. As we approached the rusty gates, I felt a surge of excitement mixed with apprehension. It was now or never. The gates creaked ominously as we pushed them open, the sound echoing in the still air. We stepped into the park, and I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. The sight of the overgrown paths, dilapidated rides, and crumbling structures sent a thrill through me. It was as if we had stepped into another world, a forgotten realm filled with memories and shadows. As we wandered deeper into the park, the sun began to set, casting an eerie glow over everything. We stumbled upon the Ferris wheel. Its once vibrant colors faded and peeling. Climbing up the rusted ladder felt like a rite of passage. I wanted to see the view from the top, to feel the rush of adrenaline as I stood high above the ground, surveying the remnants of the park. With my heart racing, I led the way up the ladder, my friends following closely behind. As I reached the top and swung my leg over the edge, I was struck by the stunning view of the valley below. Bathed in the golden light of dusk, I felt invincible, a king surveying my domain. But as I turned to call my friends up, I lost my footing. In an instant, I slipped, and my body went tumbling down. The world spun as I fell, and the next thing I knew, I was hitting the ground hard. Pain shot through my body, and I lay there, dazed and breathless, fear coursing through me. I couldn't move. I felt like I had shattered into 1,000 pieces. My friends rushed down, their faces a mix of horror and concern. I tried to speak, to reassure them, but no sound escaped my lips. I could feel panic rising as I realized I had not just fallen, I had fallen from the top of a decrepit Ferris wheel in an abandoned amusement park. This was it. This was my I'm dead moment. After what felt like an eternity, I managed to sit up, the pain radiating through my body reminding me that I was alive. My friends hovered over me, their worried expressions a haunting reflection of my own fear. I knew that I couldn't tell them the truth, that I had nearly killed myself by being reckless. Instead, I laughed it off, pretending it was all part of the adventure. But deep down, I was terrified. We decided to leave the park after that incident. I made my way home, the adrenaline from the fall mixing with a sense of relief. I had survived, but the fear of what could have happened haunted me. I knew I had pushed the limits too far, and I promised myself I wouldn't let my recklessness get the better of me again. But life has a funny way of testing those promises. A few weeks later, I found myself in another precarious situation. It was a Saturday night, and my friends and I were at a party. The kind of bash that seemed to pulse with energy and excitement. The music thumped, and laughter filled the air as we danced and celebrated the carefree days of summer. As the night wore on, someone suggested we play a game of truth or dare. My heart raced at the thought. I had always been the one to choose dare, to seek the thrill of adventure, and I wasn't about to let that night be any different. The game started innocently enough, silly dares that made everyone laugh, but soon it escalated into something far more daring. Then it was my turn. I chose dare, of course, and my friends didn't hold back. They dared me to climb onto the roof of the house we were in. I felt the familiar rush of adrenaline as I accepted the challenge, ignoring the tiny voice in my head warning me that I was making a mistake. Climbing out a window and scrambling onto the roof was exhilarating at first. I stood there, feeling the wind whip through my hair, the world beneath me seeming both distant and close. But as I looked down at the ground, the reality of my situation hit me. I was on the edge of a steep roof, with nothing but a wooden fence below. In that moment, I lost my footing again. My heart sank as I realized I was falling once more. I barely had time to brace myself before crashing into the fence. The impact knocked the wind out of me, and pain shot through my body. I lay there, stunned, surrounded by laughter that quickly turned to concern as my friends rushed over. They helped me up, and I put on a brave face, joking about my clumsiness while feeling the bruises forming on my arms and legs. I brushed off the experience, trying to convince myself that I was just being adventurous, that I was fine. But inside, I was shaken. I had narrowly escaped serious injury once again, and I couldn't shake the fear that I was pushing my luck too far. Over the next few weeks, I began to notice a change in myself. The carefree spirit that had once driven me to seek thrills turned into a creeping anxiety. I found myself hesitating before engaging in the same reckless behaviors I once loved. My friends noticed too, asking if I was okay. If something was bothering me, I would smile and assure them that I was just being cautious. But deep down, I felt like I was losing a part of myself. One afternoon, as I sat in my room, I reflected on the choices I had made. My biggest I'm dead moments had changed me. I realized I didn't want to be reckless anymore. I wanted to live life fully but responsibly, without putting myself in danger. It was a difficult transition, one that felt like I was stepping away from my adventurous identity. That realization pushed me to seek out new experiences that didn't involve danger. I took up hiking, exploring the beautiful landscapes around my town, feeling the thrill of adventure without the reckless abandon. I signed up for a rock climbing class, where I learned the importance of safety and preparation. I found joy in the challenges that required skill and focus rather than the blind risks I had previously taken. However, even as I embraced this new chapter, the lingering memory of my past escapades haunted me. I would still have moments of doubt, recalling the falls and the close calls. I was forever changed, but I was determined to find a way to honor my adventurous spirit without putting myself in harm's way. Then came the day of our senior trip, a weekend getaway to a cabin in the mountains. My friends and I were ecstatic, eager to create unforgettable memories before heading off to college. As we hiked through the trails, laughter and camaraderie filled the air, but I couldn't shake the anxiety that lingered in the back of my mind. On our last night, as we gathered around the campfire, stories and laughter echoed into the night. I felt a sense of nostalgia wash over me as I recounted my earlier adventures, the reckless moments that had defined my high school years. My friends encouraged me to let go, to embrace the wild spirit I had always possessed. I hesitated, the memories of my falls flashing in my mind. Eventually, the thrill of the night swept me up, and I found myself standing at the edge of a small cliff by the cabin, the moonlight illuminating the landscape below. My friends cheered me on, urging me to take a leap, a small jump into a shallow pool of water below. The old adrenaline junkie within me stirred, and for a moment, I felt invincible again. But as I stood there, my heart raced not with excitement but with fear. I recalled my past mistakes, the falls, the pain, and the close calls. This time, I took a step back and made a different choice. Instead of jumping, I laughed and joined my friends, finding joy in being present without risking my safety. That moment felt like a turning point for me. I realized that adventure didn't have to come at the cost of my well-being. I could still enjoy life's thrills while embracing a new understanding of responsibility. As the night wore on, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, a sense of freedom that came from making choices rooted in self-preservation rather than recklessness. The rest of the trip was filled with laughter, connection, and unforgettable memories. I knew I would still seek out new experiences, but now I would approach them with a sense of awareness and respect for my limits. I didn't want to live in fear, but I also didn't want to live in a way that jeopardized my safety. As summer came to an end and senior year began, I carried those lessons with me. My biggest I'm dead moments had taught me about the importance of self-awareness, responsibility, and the beauty of living fully without compromising my safety. I found a new balance in my life, one that allowed me to embrace adventure without the reckless abandon that had once defined me. Looking back, I realized that those moments of fear and near disaster shaped me into a stronger, wiser person. They reminded me that life is not just about the wild experiences, but also about making choices that lead to growth and fulfillment. I was ready to face whatever came next, armed with the lessons learned from my past and a newfound appreciation for life's adventures.